The Lakers go cold again in Game 5. We'll tell you why there's plenty of reason to be concerned about Game 6. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for stopping by Locked On Lakers. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. There was about 12 minutes worth of optimism in Wednesday's Game 5 against the Houston Rockets. Lakers get out to a good start. They're up by 7 at the end of the first quarter. And after that, Andy, it was all Houston. Final score 99-93. The Lakers offense disappears entirely after the first quarter. And we're going back to Houston for a Game 6, and it is one that the Rockets will enter with supreme confidence, and the Lakers less so.
There were so many things about this game that we got wrong when we were talking with Jackson Gatlin for our two-part crossover preview series, breaking down what's happened, what we thought was going to take place in Game 5. I don't mean just because you and I predicted that the Lakers would win. That part, obviously, we got wrong. It's how they played. They did not play in the way that both of us, or at least I thought they would. In my estimation, they did not. I thought their energy was low in this game. I thought their urgency was low in this game. I thought their focus was low in this game. They did not look like the team. We talked about them. We thought, especially with that extra day off between Game 4 and Game 5, and we both gave them, I think, rightly, something of a pass for Game 4, the low energy, because such a quick turnaround, overtime, older team, we get it. And Houston at that point is playing with desperation you can't fake. Fine. But we both said we thought with the extra day of rest, this team would have higher energy, and then on top of it, they would be looking to empty the clip and just leave everything out there, go completely balls out, and look to bury this team, not just because they want to close the series, but they don't want to play more games with only one day off in between. And they would see this as a real opportunity. And to me, they did not play that way at all. Other than a couple, I'll single out before we go, a couple guys who deserve praise, because I thought a couple guys showed up, like really showed up, not just in performance, but just approach to the game. But
it starts with DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton was phenomenal.
To me, Ayton to me was the only guy who genuinely earned a start to finish end-to-end gold star.
You know what? I tweeted out at Cam Brothers, and this will sound like a loaded compliment because of Ayton's history and his reputation. And I want to make it clear. I mean this as sincere praise, and it should be taken as sincere praise, but I know how it'll be interpreted, or at least could be. Between game 1 and Game 5, on balance, DeAndre Ayton has played with the most energy in this series, like the most consistent energy.
It's a consistent energy, but a consistent performance. But to your earlier point, I agree with you in part. In that, the focus as defined by like how well are you executing, how well are you paying attention, really minding the details and nailing that stuff like they did in the first couple games. Was definitely not there. And, as the game went along, Houston until the, very end, Lakers make a run, LeBron turns the ball over, there are just some things going that you can't fall behind by 13, 14 points, expect to win. What I find more concerning and what I saw happening, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't. I think after that first quarter, Houston goes on a little run. They start hitting some shots. The threes start falling. You get, an Amen Thompson 3-pointer, like some things. Lakers are kind of doing it right. and getting the wrong result. What I found concerning was it looked to me like they were starting to bleed confidence throughout the game, where their ability to go create a shot, get the shot that they want, their belief that the shots that they were getting and taking, because they got plenty of open looks, and continue this sort of, really what you want to call it, kind of leveling out the great shooting, the regression from the great shooting at the beginning of the series. Now they're on the other end of things. But they had plenty of good looks. And to me, it looked like as the game went along, they started bleeding confidence in terms of what they were doing, their belief that it was going to work, their confidence to take a shot, the confidence to push, like all these other things. They didn't look anything like, complaining a little bit more to officials, looking more frustrated when things aren't going their way. They did not look like the team that was in command of the series now or earlier. Now that Houston has kind of leveled out their offensive performance. Houston put up 99 points. It was not a juggernaut performance from the Rockets, but they look at least a little bit more like they know what they're doing. And the Lakers have just fallen off a cliff offensively in, I would say, I'll give them the first quarter Wednesday. So, fallen off a cliff in 9 out of the last 10 quarters. I look at this and I am concerned because, and this is something that we'll talk about, I'm sure, both, for the rest of this show and into tomorrow. Like we mentioned it in the show with Jackson. The Lakers were not a typical team up 3-0. They were not the team that was favored to do. They were not the team that was favored to be in that situation. And they found themselves there. Obviously, once you're up 3-0, I don't care who you are, got to close out the series. But they are unusually vulnerable. And we're starting to see why. I mean, there were because their offense is kind of capped. And they're well below that cap right now. What they've done in the last couple games has been, pretty atrocious. But their norm is relatively low. And, so they either have to outperform it or hold the other team to something really, really bad.
I would agree with you about the bleeding confidence piece of this, or at least more wholeheartedly believe it as the primary thing that has me concerned. It obviously matters, but I don't think they played hard enough in a lot of ways to even earn the benefit of the doubt of confidence. You can still play harder. You can still play with more energy. You can still be, frankly, working your asses off harder than it seemed to me like they were. So many of their turnovers were just unfocused carelessness. And those are things that, to me, they're not an element of confidence. They're an element of lackadaisical approach or not bringing the necessary urgency, focus, mindfulness of the details, whatever. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily wrong that confidence wouldn't become an issue, because given where they are right now, it arguably should be. Houston, since game 2, has been the better team in this series, other than the last 30 seconds of game 3 and overtime. They've been
the first half of game 3, but to your point, the last 10 quarters, they've been the better team.
Right. And so it just was, for me, again, the piece of this that I cannot get past. And I don't disagree with a lot of what you're talking about in terms of what happened, but I expected them to come out with way more energy than they had, way more sense of purpose. Like they would be the team. We've talked about them setting the tone of engagement. It did not feel like they were looking to set a tone of any kind to me. Like the crowd
carry this through.
The crypt was dead.
It was dead, but there's a reason for that, and I'll tell you where I just sort of disagree with you and why. I mean, I don't think you're entirely wrong, but I think that it's kind of more than what you're saying, at least in my mind. We'll talk about it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Kalshi. The playoffs are here, the most electric time in basketball, except for this game. On Kalshi, you can trade every single playoff game, every series, every conference finals, and the championship. As of this recording now, the Lakers are trading at 73% probability to beat the Houston Rockets in the series, meaning a $100 trade pays out at 138.04. It had been 88% heading into game 5. So what a difference a bad loss makes. And as the playoffs heat up, those numbers move in real time, and you can buy in or out anytime on Kalshi. You're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app. Use the code Locked On to get $10 when you trade 10. Kalshi, Kalshi. Trade on anything 18 plus. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risks, may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
So I don't disagree that the Lakers, they didn't sustain. There were times when Houston was sort of outworking them, or seemed like it at least, and they certainly didn't sustain, sort of end to end what it looked like they were starting to. But that's kind of my point. Like, they came out in this game, I think, were pretty sharp with their getting their shots. I think they were sharp with their move. They were moving well defensively. They were,
but even then they turned the ball over a lot.
Okay. I didn't say they were
bad
perfect.
Turnovers.
I didn't say they were perfect. But I think they, the turnover question is a little bit different. Like, basically what I'm disagreeing with you is I think they were efforting. I don't think they played well. And I think with the turnovers, that level of focus, if you're counting that as sort of part of your effort,
yes,
I agree
absolutely.
With you. But here's the thing. As the game went on, because they started off with a lead, they started off looking like they had a chance to pull this thing away. Where they went wrong, the reason the crowd was dead was because they started to, I think, panic a little bit offensively. They started to break down in their execution. They stopped moving the ball nearly as well. They stopped moving with confidence on the floor. Shots don't go down. When you miss, Houston had this problem in game 1 and game 2. They looked like they were being outrun, outworked, out everything because you couldn't hit a damn shot. And when you start to lose that rhythm offense, when you are this inept as the Lakers were offensively, you score 19 points in the second quarter and 20 points in the third quarter, 39 points in 2 NBA quarters. It's going to look real bad, and it's going to start taking away a lot of it's going to take away momentum. It's going to kill the crowd. It's going to do all those things. And what bothers me about that is that the Lakers seem to have no mechanism to turn it around. I think they recognized what was going on. I think they were trying. I think they had no confidence, capacity, execution, whatever it was, to turn it around. And then you combine it with, the Marcus Smart experience, which is always kind of a roller coaster. It can include a lot of bad turnovers. Nah, there was no upside in it on Wednesday. LeBron, I think, had 3 turnovers, but it seemed a lot like, it seemed like more. And they just missed too many, like 4 of 16 from the floor from Reaves. And, Kennard. Did Kennard end up with a field goal? I don't believe so. 31 minutes with no field goals.
He has since game 2. He has increasingly disappeared.
They hit 26% of their 3-pointers and they had 1 in the second half.
Here's the part of it, though, that I would disagree with you in terms of the idea that it's purely just not seeing the ball go down, not seeing the offense.
I don't think it's purely that. I just think
but I think it's here's where I think it's
huge
more
aspect of it.
Here's where look, obviously you're going to get frustrated when shots aren't going down. That's it's what happens when anything in sports, if what you're doing isn't working. Except Houston's offense wasn't particularly good either. And they were still outworking the Lakers, other than basically DeAndre Ayton. And I thought LeBron was reasonable, although I now have concerns. Because remember, game 4, he looked spent. And it was like, okay, I get it. I completely get it. I'm 100% willing to give LeBron a pass, given how much he had carried earlier in the series, how much he had carried in the regular season post Luka and Austin being out. And I could still give him a pass in terms of just the effect of age, but I'm starting to grow concerned that, and this is something I've talked about the last couple seasons in the playoffs, even when I think LeBron has played well. I think as the series have gone along, he's looked more tired.
Look, LeBron was one of the only people who could get a bucket in the fourth quarter. So, I mean,
yes, 11 points in the fourth quarter of his 25. Again, I'm not faulting LeBron.
I know, I understand that, but I'm also sort of disagreeing with the premise. LeBron was able to get some shots to fall in the floor. He was better in the fourth quarter than he was I thought in the first 3 offensively. It took him way too long to get going.
That can be a fatigue factor as well.
But then why was he better in the fourth? He's, second wind, I guess. I don't know. But
yes,
LeBron isn't going to be as effective if the rest, we've talked about this going in, and we've talked about it in this year. LeBron needs help. If the entire Houston Rockets offense, and they did a good job, especially early, of generating shots where LeBron didn't have to be the first person in a possession. And I think as the game went on, LeBron took more control of what was going on because what was happening was really bad.
Absolutely.
But LeBron isn't going to be effective if the Lakers can't space a floor with a three-pointer. I thought, Austin got off to a good start. His first shift was his best in terms of efficiency. He had 22, I believe he finished with.
Yes, he did.
22. But on 16 field goals, he did generate a lot of their offense by getting the line. So I mean, it wasn't uniformly awful for him. But 4 of 16,
it was very front. It was very first shift front. Other than getting to the line, it was
right. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I was going to say. It's yes, the 13 free throws. That's a lot of possessions with jumpers that don't go in, and that is not 4 of 16 is not nearly good enough. Even coming back from an injury, even playing, higher minutes, facing a good defense, all that. 4 of 16 is not nearly good enough. And LeBron, who ended up with a reasonable looking line at 9 of 20, missed all 6 of his 3-pointers. The Lakers can't exist in this series against this defense as a sub 30% 3-point shooting team. It will not work. And that's where they have been in the second half of game 3 through game 4 and into game. They had 2 3-pointers before garbage time in game 4. They had 1 3-pointer in the second half of game 5. I realize there are a lot of fans who are like, stop shooting threes. We're 2-3 to all these other. This is the world we live in. If you cannot, especially against a Rockets team, that you need to spread out a little bit. If you're, when you don't have the athletes, you have to be able to make some. And in the fourth quarter, Austin had a bunch of gotta have it threes. They didn't go in. Rui, who has typically made a lot of these, some gotta have it threes, didn't go in. Smart, gotta have it threes, didn't. Sometimes you have to hit your shots, and they didn't. Yeah. And now you combine it with your inattentiveness to turnovers. They make that run. LeBron gets stripped by Reed Shepherd. Can't happen. And I'm, again, not blaming LeBron, but that's a critical play, critical turnover.
Yeah.
LeBron,
and
bad shot selection at the end, 3-pointer that clangs.
That was
you better make it 30 seconds or 50 seconds left, whatever it was.
It was not an advisable shot. He had an open lane. He had more time to find something else. His 3 hadn't been falling in that game. But to your point, if you're going to take that shot,
better make it.
You have to make it. And you are correct that the other guys need to be stepping up more. Again, DeAndre Ayton was the best player on the floor by a wide.
DeAndre Ayton was fantastic in this game.
Yes. I mean, for all of the concerns about Ayton in the playoffs, and will he maintain focus? Will he do all the things that he claims he's going to do? This series, I think Ayton has been very good on both sides of the ball, and you
So
don't have
not
much.
their problem.
Yeah, no, you don't really have much to complain about him. Again, it jumps off the page, so to speak, that I think his energy level over 5 games has been the best for this team, like most consistent. LeBron was, I think, the second best Laker. And then from there, it was a lot of either fine but not great, not nearly enough, or guys like Smart through mistakes and just carelessness, and Luke Kennard just disappearing. And then, uh, Jackson Hayes has had a few bad games in a row now. Like, they needed more guys to perform better. And again, it just felt to me like their collective focus and resolve and energy. If you want to say that it was enough in the first quarter, fine, whatever. But it dropped off really quickly from the second on until the fourth, when they got a bit of a rally going. Again, I think a lot of that was the way DeAndre Ayton was just killing it on both ends. But
Mhm.
I thought they spent a lot of this game just, I don't want to say sleepwalking, but mall walking at best.
Maybe I hope you're right. Because if your interpretation of it, which leans more heavily than mine to with harder work and a little more focus, the results are different.
Ah,
Um,
we'll talk about this more in the next segment. That's not exactly what I'm saying, but
okay, well, because I kind of wish it was, because my version of what they're fighting right now would be more distressing than that. So we'll get to it next.
so it's clear. I don't disagree with any of the concerns you have in the pure basketball piece of this, and the regression that we're seeing offensively, and the way that they don't seem to be able to consistently solve the issues they're having getting things going. Like, I completely agree with you. It's trending in the wrong direction beyond the effort issues and the focus issues that I presented, just to make sure that is clear. I don't disagree with that piece of it. That piece of it, though, is why, in part, it is so disappointing to me to, if nothing else, not see them just attack things more, given the fact that they have to overcome these issues that have been clearly trending in the wrong direction.
I get what you're saying, and I mean, to some degree, we're kind of saying, the same things, and I think with a little different POV, with a little different perspective. Um, there's to some degree a little bit of a chicken and egg thing here too. Like, are you failing because you're not trying hard enough, because you're not putting in the effort, because you're not focused enough, because you're not whatever, or are you and then or in that's leading to missed shots and bad turnovers or are the bad turnovers making taking the wind and the energy and the opportunity away? The answer is, to some degree, is both, but they'd be better off if the answer was just, you guys aren't trying hard enough, there's not enough effort. That would be a better answer, because the other end of that, and by the way, before we're done here, I am going to get to the positive, because reasons for optimism. Don't worry, it's a bad night, but don't throw it away yet. But the problem, to finish the thought, the problem is that they are being outplayed. They are being out basketballed, not just outworked.
Yes.
From the Rockets, who are not a great offensive team, but are a significantly better defensive team. I think the Lakers are really struggling with the Şengün focused version of the Rockets compared to the Durant-focused version. Again, Houston scored.
Is this going to be the Katie Ewing series, the Bill Simmons Ewing theory series?
Yeah. Like the Lakers held the Rockets to 99 points. They were not run off the floor defensively. But, this has been as they're part of the reason they won those first two games pretty convincingly and were able to come back and throw. It's like the shot making was there. The supplementary performances from a player like Kennard, was 27 a game probably too much to ask? Sure. There needs to be a happy medium somewhere between 27 and 1. Like, if you are going to be a Laker who plays 31 minutes, you need to have more than a point. Jake LaRavia had a bucket. He played 9 minutes. Jared Vanderbilt had a bucket. He played 6 minutes. Like they had 6 guys who played 30 minutes or more. And of those 6, I think you can put Ayton again, gold star, he's fine. I think LeBron and ultimately did it, but like they need more from Austin Reaves. They need more from Rui Hachimura. They need more from Smart and Kennard. Like they can't survive bad games from both of those guys.
In a weird way, they need more, and I think tonight less from Smart. Depending on how
more. They need more than. Well, here's the thing. Like it's the turnovers are problematic. The passing. I mean, it's he had 6 turnovers on the night.
It felt like
the Lakers
way more.
It felt like way more. The Lakers, volume wise, actually cut down considerably on their turnovers from game 4 to game 5. They went from 24 to 15. But man alive, there were some really bad ones, poorly timed and open floor, bad post passes, things that make it easier for Houston to get out and run. And it's just the timing of these things. You got to be sharper than they were. I will say this, because Lakers fans ought to be concerned. If there was ever a team that was primed to lose a 3-0 lead, it would be the team that everybody, half of the country was picking to lose in 5, like with home court advantage. And so again, Lakers, not a typical team to be up 3-0 in a series like this. Houston suffered through worse than expected shooting, like bad shooting variance in games 1 and 2. They've been significantly better in games 3 and 4 and still have not put up numbers that would be impossible for a competent offensive team to catch. The Lakers were a little above water, I think, in games 1 and 2, and have been way below what you would expect just a normal team to do. So they've got 2 opportunities to shoot like a normal team and, hit 40% from 3-point range and get to the line and make some shots and do whatever and see what happens. The problem is, the scary proposition is, what happens if they do that on a night where Houston's equally hot or something like that? Like I don't believe the Lakers are as bad as they have been offensively in the last 2 games, but there is no guarantee either that they bounce back or that they bounce back on a night where Houston's not going to be shooting well. Like they put themselves in dangerous territory at this point.
Yeah. Like I said, I have concerns about fatigue now. Like I'm officially concerned with LeBron with fatigue, because while he certainly looked better in game 5 than he did in game 4, I expected him to be able to have more consistent burst and sort of ability to get past defenders more regularly in this game.
I did.
I did. I'm just telling you,
because I just don't think that. I don't think that's really the face up and blow by guys part of the game. It's just not that. That's not part of it.
I understand that. I don't expect it to look like prime LeBron, and I say this not even to point the finger at LeBron or make LeBron the problem. What I'm saying is, if he is not closer to what I thought he would be with the extra day of rest, or just what I thought he would need to be for 1 game with the extra day of rest, as the series continues further and he's playing every other day, that concerns me now moving forward. it is concerning for me. And hopefully
if they get similar performances out of LeBron in game 6 and game 7, 25 points, 7 rebounds, reasonable turnover, something better than 0% from 3-point range, but broadly speaking, something on this level of quality, that can be enough. If there is not, I will tell you this. So the thing that I think people have been expecting, I expected at least one of these sort of just kind of Superman games, like you just dial it up one time. I think you got close to that in game 2, and certainly he kind of did it in game to somebody in game 3. Is there one more of those? But
this is what I'm talking
I think
about.
tonight. I think he played fine on Wednesday. He had nothing in game 4, but I think the bounce back in game 5 was fine, and the fourth quarter was encouraging.
The fourth quarter was really good. Again, you're kind of though missing my point, which is that fine is only fine if fine is all you need. If you need more than fine, I have concerns that they can't get that from him right now. So unless Austin really has shaken off a hell of a lot of rust from this layoff, because he started out like his first shift, like we talked about earlier, was really good. From there, it became much more free throw oriented and he couldn't hit shots. So at that point, can you count on Austin to be able to elevate? Because if the answer there may be no, for totally understandable reasons, he's been missing a month.
Here's the thing: if you need LeBron to carry the team, I think from game 1, our basic premise has been from game 1 that if LeBron has to kind of carry them, like other guys are just underperforming, you need, like as you've called it, kind of prime. They're probably screwed. Right. The onus is, I agree with you. The onus is on Austin. The onus is on, and if they can't get the other,
all I'm saying is
LeBron, I'm not really looking at that as a viable path.
Well, all I'm saying though is forget it being Austin or LeBron specifically. Any team, if there are questions about whether your two best players can deliver in one game when you need them to, because the supporting guys, for whatever reason, may not. If there's questions about that, then you really start becoming in a difficult place, because that's what you expect from your two best players. You expect the ability to, if you really need it for one damn game, they can do that for one game. And I think it feels feasible.
I'm looking more at Austin because I think a better Austin's going to make LeBron better too.
Sure,
but the problem in game 5 was
pick Austin either one of them.
Yeah, but the problem is I'm looking in for Wednesday at least. I'm looking more at Austin than I am at LeBron.
I am too, but again, I'm not trying to make out LeBron to be the problem specifically or Austin to be the problem specifically. I'm talking about the overarching thing with both of them potentially and the situation the Lakers are in right now. That's what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Like, it's not, again, I said from the beginning, I thought LeBron was fine. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was bad. He was the second best player on this team. Like, he's not the guy that you point at and say he was the problem. My concern is, can he be the solution? Because if he can't be the solution for one game and Austin can't be, then you really start getting yourself in trouble.
Sure. But I think if LeBron I'll put it this way, if LeBron gave you the same effort in game 5 as he did in game 2 or 3, I still think the Lakers offense was too inept to win the game. And so I wonder, they need to elevate more as a group. I think, you can point to LeBron as a concern in the sense of like needing that Superman performance and wondering if that can happen in game 6 or game 7. But I mean, I feel like that is somewhat misplaced. I understand what you're saying, and you're right. Like, they may not be able to get it. And if they don't get the other stuff, that that
they've
option,
wasted 2 prime DeAndre Ayton games. I mean, for real.
Sure
He was the only guy that really performed well in game 4.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I will say, to your point, I do wonder if a little bit the Lakers fell into that sort of, as they were bleeding confidence in what they were doing offensively, into that hope that LeBron could save them. Like somebody's going to do something spectacular to kind of save us. Austin was, I think, game in this. It's not easy to sit for however, most of a month and then turn around and go out and play in game 5 of the playoffs against a really good defensive team. But he's there. He's on the floor. He needs to be better.
Yes.
And we'll see. I think he will be better than 4 of 16 on Friday. But like, what else are they going to get playing on the road? We'll see. So it is a worrisome night for Lakers fans. There is no question about that. And it's going to be a worrisome Thursday and probably a worrisome Friday until they get out on the floor. They got 2 chances to win 1 game. One of them will be at home. And so the series is far from over. But I can understand why folks are not sleeping well tonight. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can hang out with over 38,000 subscribers to the channel. We'll see everyone later.